The story that I want to tell is, I don't know what to say other than exorcism performed on beaded curtain. That's the quickest way I can tell it to you. And that's what he painted. Exorcism performed on beaded curtain. It's right there. But the details of the story are many. I mean, you know, I went to an apartment. It was a very cheap apartment because it came with a beaded curtain. Now, you know, apartments with beaded curtains tend to be cheaper than apartments without beaded curtains. And so I was going through this beaded curtain with no problem usually, and you know, it was doing what beaded curtains do, which make that sort of, you know, that bony-like noise when you go through them. It's sort of spooky, but it's sort of nice too. It's sort of like percussion. And I noticed that the beads were getting hot one night, and you know. And then I looked over and the beads were like little flames and candles. It was like lines of flames, you know, between my door, but the flames weren't burning the wood. And I thought, that's really weird behavior for a beaded curtain, you know. So I called 911 and I said, you know, I don't know what to say, but like my beaded curtain is like on, I don't know if it's on fire, it's not burning anything, but where the beads were, there are not flames. And inside the flames, there is this image of like horns and teeth and you know, musculoskeletal stuff, and I can't figure it out, but yeah, it's really bad, and I don't know. You know, what am I supposed to do? Where's the beaded curtain inspector? You know, can you send him out? I said, call a priest. So, you know, and so I called a priest, called Father Forsyth, and I said, listen, I said, Father, my beaded curtain is there's these flames. You know, I haven't left the house in 2 days. I'm like watching it like a baby, you know. They're not burning anything, but I can see this horrible image inside of a golem, or I don't even know what to say, inside each flame. He said, I'll be right over. Don't you worry. So, you know, he came. Father Forsyth came, and, you know, very nice man. He was just in black, and he had some assistants in white. And, you know, they came to my really ratty apartment that was cheap because I had a beaded curtain, and now I even know more why it was cheap, because the beaded curtain was possessed. But, you know, he came, and by then, you know, the beaded curtain was really whipped up into a frost of flame. The flames were bubbling, you know. You don't really think of flames as bubbling like spit. But, you know, they were like bubbling, and it was strings of these flames, and they, you know, and Father Forsyth got on his knees with his crucifix, and, you know, and he started bravely, you know, inching his knees toward this maelstrom of beaded curtain, fire and flame and bubbles and everything. And, you know, by that time I was in the corner of the room, like as far away from that monstrous curtain as possible. But I didn't have anywhere to live, so I couldn't leave else to live. So I just watched him, and the beaded curtain engulfed him in these flames, these facial flames, I guess would be the same, because they all had these weird faces, and he disappeared, and then his men in white disappeared, and I thought it was so strange and very worrisome. I was worried about him. You know, I didn't know what to do. I was paralyzed. I couldn't call 911 because obviously they just told me to call a priest, and he was already there. So anyway, you know, I heard this noise coming from the beaded curtain, and it was a chant, and it was a beautiful chant, and it was almost like this. If you read Dante, there's a sphere, the sound of the spheres that the planets make in the last book, Paradiso. And I mean, you know, which I had to read in 3rd grade for some reason. You know, very strange upbringing I had. But anyway, I started to hear that sort of celestial noise coming from this clot of flame into which Father Forsyth and his assistants had disappeared, and slowly, like foam, you know, runs away from a beach. The flames started to sort of subside. And the men that were fighting them so bravely, sort of like firemen, you know, were suddenly revealed, and everything after that sort of resolved. He stood up, except one thing I'll get to in a minute. But, you know, he stood up and he said, I think, you know, your beaded curtain has been healed, and we don't know why beaded curtains do this every now and then. It's the only inanimate object that can be possessed. But it has happened, and thank you for calling us, and here's my card, and if it happens again, you know, call me. And then I noticed that the beads were not quite the same. They were still that horrible amber color that was once ubiquitous in like 77 and 78 and 76. Posters, and everything was amber. And it was like, as a little kid looking at all that amber, you felt like a fly, you know, stuck in gift shop amber. But anyway, it was still amber, but there was like almost a glisten, a real beautiful little glisten to each of the beads, and they had at the top they had a little teardrop shape. So it was like strings of tears, sort of running down the door frame, but not tears of sadness. They weren't sad tears. I felt that they were. I was looking at this curtain made of tears of joy.